Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive. And you know me, I love digging into stuff that can help us grow. So today we're looking at this proposed script. It's for a Christian podcast called The Sunshine Inside, and this particular episode is titled See Your Partner Through God's Eyes, a Journey to Lasting Love and Unity. Pretty catchy, right?
It is. And what really intrigued me about this one is the way it takes relationship advice, but kind of flips the script.
Mm.
It's not just the usual communication tips or conflict resolution strategies. It brings in this whole faith-based perspective.
Right. It's like looking at your marriage through a different lens. Like, okay, we all know relationships can be tough, but what if we approached those challenges with this deeper understanding of marriage as a sacred covenant?
Exactly. The script really emphasizes that right
Yeah.
from the start. It's not just a human contract.
Yeah.
It's a promise before God.
And those I do's, they take on a whole new meaning. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, this is serious stuff. This isn't just about me and my feelings. It's about honoring a commitment we made before God. But let's be real, life gets messy, right?
Oh, absolutely. Jobs, kids, just the daily grind. It all puts pressure on a relationship. And the script acknowledges that. It doesn't pretend like everything's going to be sunshine and roses.
Yeah, I mean, we all have those moments where we get annoyed with our partner or frustrated or maybe even resentful.
And that's where I think this whole teammate analogy comes in. It's a simple idea, but so powerful. The script uses this sports metaphor. Like
Mhm.
instead of seeing your spouse as your opponent, think of them as your teammate.
Right. We're on the same side. We're working towards the same goal. And just like in sports, there can be times when one of us messes up or drops the ball. But instead of keeping score or throwing blame around, we need to support each other and pick each other up.
And that's where that verse from Corinthians comes in. Love doesn't keep a record of wrongs. This 1 Corinthians 13.5, one of my favorites.
So powerful, right? But seriously, how many of us are guilty of keeping score in our relationships? I know I've been there. It's like holding onto that little list of all the times your partner messed up, and it just creates this distance, this resentment that eats away at the foundation of love.
Exactly. And that's where this whole perspective shift comes in. The script really dives deep into this idea of seeing your partner as God sees them, which, let's be honest, can be a pretty radical shift in thinking.
It is. Because we're so conditioned to judge, right? Based on outward appearances, on behaviors. We see the flaws, the imperfections. But this is about going beyond that surface level.
Yeah.
It's about tapping into a deeper understanding.
And it starts with recognizing that we're not perfect either, right? We all mess up. We all have our flaws. And just like we want grace and understanding extended to us, we need to offer that same grace to our partners.
It's like that saying, be the change you want to see in the world. But in this case, it's be the grace you want to see in your marriage. And the script uses this beautiful imagery from Psalm 139.14, fearfully and wonderfully made. It reminds us that each of us is a unique creation made in God's image.
And there's inherent worth and beauty in that. And it's something we need to remember, not just about our partner, but about ourselves as well. It's so easy to get caught up in comparison and self-criticism. But we need to see ourselves through God's eyes too. And that includes seeing our partner through that same lens of love and compassion.
Right. And the script even challenges us to go a step further. It references Philippians 2.3, where it talks about considering others as more significant than yourselves. That's a tough one, right? But imagine the impact that would have on our relationships if we could truly put our partner's needs before our own.
You'll be a game changer. And it ties back to that whole teammate mentality, right? It's about working together, supporting each other, putting the good of the relationship above our individual desires.
And it's about shifting our focus from criticism to appreciation. Instead of zeroing in on the flaws, we start looking for the good, for those wonderfully made aspects that God sees so clearly. But the script doesn't just stop there. It gets really practical when it talks about guarding our hearts and minds. And I think this is where it really hit home for me because, let's face it, negative thoughts can be insidious. They can creep in and poison our perspective without us even realizing it.
Absolutely. And the script uses this powerful verse from Proverbs 4.23. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. It's like a wake-up call. We need to be intentional about what we allow into our minds, because our thoughts shape our beliefs, our attitudes, our actions.
It's like we have this choice. Do we dwell on the negative? Or do we focus on what's positive, what's true, what's honorable? And the script gives us some practical tips on how to do that, like from Philippians 4.8. Focusing on whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable. If anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things.
It's like building a mental filter, right? Reading out the negativity and replacing it with what's good. And that takes effort. It's not always easy, but the more we practice it, the more it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
and the more we can experience that peace that God promises.
And it's not just about our own effort.
Right.
The script emphasizes the importance of prayer and gratitude, inviting God into the equation, seeking his guidance and strength, because let's be real, we can't do this on our own. We need his help.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And then the script throws out this challenge,
Yep.
something we can actually put into practice today. It's so simple, but I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It challenges us to list 3 things we love about our spouse every day.
I love that. It's such a tangible way to shift our perspective, to train our minds to look for the good. Instead of dwelling on the negative, we're actively seeking out those qualities that drew us to our partner in the first place.
Exactly. And it can have such a ripple effect on the entire relationship, from how we communicate to how we handle conflict. It's about building a habit of appreciation, seeing our partner through a lens of love rather than criticism. But the script doesn't stop there. It goes even deeper, talking about this concept of walking in the Spirit for a stronger marriage.
And that's where I have to admit, I got a little lost. It feels like we've moved from practical tips to something a bit more abstract.
It can seem that way, but it's actually deeply rooted in the Christian faith. Walking in the Spirit is about aligning our lives with God's will, allowing his love and guidance to shape our actions and reactions.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection. So it's not just about avoiding bad behavior, it's about cultivating a whole different way of being.
Exactly. And the script references Galatians 5.16, which talks about this contrast between fleshly desires and spiritual fruits. It's about choosing to live according to the Spirit rather than giving in to our selfish impulses.
Okay, so what are these spiritual fruits? What does that look like in practice?
Well, the script goes on to list them. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Quite a list, right? But think about it. These are the very qualities that make for a healthy, thriving marriage.
It's like a recipe for a fulfilling relationship, baked right into our spiritual lives. But how do we actually make that happen? It's one thing to list those qualities, but another to actually live them out, especially when things get tough.
That's where the daily practice of seeking God's presence comes in. It's not a one-time fix. It's an ongoing journey of aligning our hearts and minds with God's will. And the script reminds us that we're not alone in this adventure. God is there to fill our marriages with peace and unity.
So we've got this foundation of a sacred covenant, this shift in perspective to seeing our partner through God's eyes, and then this ongoing practice of walking in the Spirit, letting those fruits guide our actions. It's a lot to take in.
It is, and we've only just scratched the surface. But what's exciting is that this script gives us a tangible roadmap for building a stronger, more fulfilling marriage. It's not just about romantic gestures or communication techniques. It's about a deeper transformation that starts from within. And that's what we'll explore further as we continue our deep dive, As we're talking about all this, I'm struck by how this script weaves in this idea of personal growth alongside the relationship stuff.
Yeah, it's not just about fixing the marriage, it's about becoming better people.
Right.
Individually.
Exactly. It's like even the best relationships have those rough patches.
Yeah.
And the script isn't sugarcoating that. It acknowledges the real struggles couples face.
Totally. Like, remember that challenge to list 3 things you love about your spouse each day? I've actually tried that before. And it's amazing how it can shift your focus,
Yeah. Right. Instead of dwelling on the negatives, you're intentionally searching for those good things, the unique qualities that make your partner special.
It's so easy to fall into that trap of criticism, though. I mean, it's almost like our brains are wired to notice what's wrong.
It's true. And that's where guarding our hearts and minds becomes so crucial. Remember that verse from Proverbs? Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it.
It's like we're the gatekeepers of our own minds, right? Choosing what we let in.
Exactly. And this script gives us the tools to do that. It's about filtering out the negativity and replacing it with what's true, honorable, and praiseworthy, like we talked about earlier.
I love that analogy of mental garden. You can't always control what seeds blow in, but you can choose which ones to nurture.
And that choice has a ripple effect on our emotions, our actions, and ultimately, the health of our marriage.
It's crazy how one small shift in perspective can change so much. And this script also emphasizes that it's not all on us. We can invite God into this process.
Absolutely. Prayer and gratitude are powerful tools. It's acknowledging that we don't have all the answers, but God does.
And he wants to help us. He wants to see our marriages flourish.
And that brings us back to that idea of walking in the Spirit for a stronger marriage. It's about surrendering to God's will, letting his love and guidance shape our lives.
It's about choosing to live according to the Spirit, rather than giving in to those selfish impulses.
Exactly. And the script highlights those fruits of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
It's quite a list, but those are the qualities that build a strong foundation for any relationship.
And it's an ongoing journey, not a destination.
Right.
It's about seeking God's presence daily and allowing Him to work in us and through us.
I think that's what makes this approach so powerful.
Mhm.
It's not about striving for perfection in our own strength. It's about recognizing our need for God.
And it's about trusting that He's with us every step of the way, guiding us, strengthening us, helping us become the couples He created us to be.
That's a beautiful thought. Even amidst the challenges, we can experience God's transforming love and grace.
And remember, this journey isn't just for our marriages. It's for our own personal growth as well. As we cultivate those fruits of the Spirit, they transform us from the inside out.
We become better partners, better parents, better people overall.
It's not just about fixing a relationship. It's about embracing a whole new way of living.
A way of living that's rooted in love, grace, and the power of God's transforming presence.
And speaking of transformation, I've been thinking about how this script focuses on seeing our partners through God's eyes. But what about ourselves? Do we extend that same grace and compassion inward?
That's a great point. We talk about being patient and understanding with our partners, but are we as patient and understanding with ourselves?
Exactly. Our self-perception plays a huge role in how we perceive others. If we're constantly criticizing ourselves, it's going to be that much harder to see the good in our partners.
I love where you're going with this. What if, alongside that challenge, to list 3 things we love about our spouse? We also challenge ourselves to list 3 things we appreciate about ourselves.
I love that. Such a simple practice, but it could have a profound impact on our self-esteem and on our ability to see the good in others.
It's about recognizing our own inherent worth and beauty as creations of God.
And that self-acceptance can be incredibly liberating. It frees us from the need to constantly seek validation from others and allows us to love more freely and unconditionally.
It's about knowing that we are loved and cherished by God just as we are, and letting that truth sink in and transform our hearts.
And from that place of self-love,
Yeah,
we can then love our partners more fully and authentically.
it's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. We need to fill ourselves up with God's love first, and then we can overflow that love onto others.
And that ties in perfectly with this whole idea of walking in the Spirit. It's about a deep inner transformation that starts with our relationship with God.
It's about aligning our hearts and minds with His truth, which includes recognizing our own worth and value as His beloved children.
It's a powerful concept, and I think it adds a whole new dimension to this script. It's about seeing ourselves and our partners through God's eyes, recognizing the beauty and worth that He has placed within each of us.
And that's a foundation for a truly thriving relationship, a relationship that's built on love, grace, and a deep understanding of who we are in Christ.
Wow. It's amazing how much we've unpacked just from this one little podcast script. It really makes you think about the deeper layers of marriage, doesn't it?
It does. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, you know?
Yeah.
There's always more to discover, and I think that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Right. It's not just about surface-level advice. It's about getting to the heart of what makes a marriage truly thrive.
And it all starts with that shift in perspective, remembering that we're not just looking at our partner through our own limited human lens, but through God's eyes.
Like we were saying before, it's about choosing to see the best in them, even when it's tough, even when they're driving us crazy.
And extending that same grace and compassion to ourselves, which can be even harder sometimes. Right?
Oh, yeah. We're often our own worst critics.
Mm-hmm.
But this script really challenges us to silence that inner negativity and embrace the truth that we are loved, cherished, and fully accepted by God just as we are. And from that place of self-love, we can then love our partners more freely, more authentically, more unconditionally.
It's like that whole overflowing cup analogy. When we're filled up with God's love, it naturally spills over into our relationships.
And that's where this faith-based approach really makes a difference. It's not about relying on our own limited strength or willpower. It's about tapping into that infinite source of love and grace that comes from God.
And trusting that He wants to see our marriages succeed. He wants to help us become the best partners we can be.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what's the biggest takeaway for you? What's that one nugget of wisdom that you hope our listener walks away with?
You know, for me, it's that reminder that love is a choice. It's not just a feeling that comes and goes. It's a decision we make every single day to act with kindness, patience, forgiveness, even when it's hard.
I love that. Because real love isn't always easy. It requires effort, commitment, a willingness to put our partner's needs before our own.
Sometimes, and it requires us to remember that we're not perfect either. We're all going to mess up, make mistakes, hurt each other sometimes. But God's grace is always there for us, ready to forgive, to heal, to restore.
And we have this incredible gift, the gift of choice. We can choose to focus on the negative, or we can choose to see the good, to appreciate the blessings in our lives, and to extend grace to ourselves and to our partners.
So, to our listener, we encourage you to embrace that choice. Choose love. Choose to see your partner through God's eyes. Choose to cultivate a spirit of gratitude and appreciation. And most importantly, choose to walk in step with the Holy Spirit, letting His love and guidance transform your marriage from the inside out.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. God is with you every step of the way, cheering you on, strengthening you, and helping you build a marriage that reflects His love for you.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and encouraging. And until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep loving